Hi, this is Niban Fonsan, and welcome to the first lesson of the VS Code for Data Science and AI course. Today's lesson is focused on installing Python and Jupyter Notebook through Anaconda. You will learn how to install Python using the Anaconda distribution, which is a software that comes loaded with so many tools, including Jupyter Notebook and essential data science libraries. You will also gain skills on how to launch your first Jupyter Notebook, and you will understand why Anaconda is the preferred environment for data science and AI. So, what is Anaconda? Anaconda is an open source Python distribution and a package manager. You might be wondering what is a Python distribution or what is a package manager. We will unpack that very soon. Anaconda is also a software that is designed for scientific computing, data science, and machine learning. So let's take a look into Anaconda as a Python distribution. When we say Anaconda is a Python distribution, we basically mean that Python can be distributed through Anaconda. It means when you install Anaconda, you are installing Python. But Anaconda comes with many other tools beyond the Python interpreter. So the Anaconda software contains the Python interpreter and many essential and popular data science packages like the NumPy, which stands for numerical Python, Pandas, which is a package or a library for data manipulation and data analysis. Anaconda also contains Matplotlib, which is a package for data visualization, and scikit-learn, which is the workhorse for machine learning and predictive analytics. There are so many other packages that come with Anaconda. Anaconda also contains a notebook environment, which is the Jupyter Notebook, and also other integrated development environments or IDEs like PyCharm and Spider. You also have even VS Code included in Anaconda, which is a code editor. But later in the course, like in the next lesson, we will see how to install VS Code as a standalone software. But just note that when you install Anaconda, you also have VS Code included. So you can actually launch VS Code through Anaconda, and we will see how to do that through the Anaconda Navigator very soon. So let's now dive into how to install Anaconda. We want to install Python and Jupyter Notebook and many other components that Anaconda comes with, but our focus really is on Python and Jupyter Notebook. We can install Jupyter Notebook and Python by installing Anaconda. So to install Anaconda, the first thing we have to do is to download the Anaconda installer from the Anaconda's official website. Secondly, we need to run the installer in order to install the Anaconda software. And again, when you install the Anaconda software, you are installing many things, including Python and Jupyter Notebook. So we will actually see how to install Anaconda on a Windows machine, how to install Anaconda on Mac and on a Linux machine. So let's see how to install Anaconda on a Windows machine. You will see basically you need to go to the official website of Anaconda and download the exe installer. Then you can double click on it after you download it, accept the license, and follow the rest of the instructions to install Anaconda. I just want to quickly show you how to download and install Anaconda from the Anaconda's official website. You can go to anaconda.com/download, as you can see here, and you will be able to then navigate to the page where you will download Anaconda. So when you are on this page, you can skip this registration here. So hit that skip button, and it will take you to the page where Anaconda can be downloaded. Anaconda is a cross-platform software, so it can be installed on a Windows computer, on a Mac, and on a Linux machine. But I want to focus here right now on showing you how to install Anaconda on a Windows machine. So basically you need to click on this 64-bit graphical installer to download the Anaconda installer. And so you can see that it is downloading here. We will just wait for it to download. Now we see that it is done downloading. We can click on that download button right there. And you can see the installer, the Anaconda installer right here. So double click on that to install it. Let's click on this folder. You can see like show in folder, this folder here, and the folder, your download folder will open, and now you can actually install it from the folder. So we see this is Anaconda right in your download folder. I'm going to double click on that. And you can see now that it is initializing. So now we can follow the instructions on this installer to install Anaconda. Click on that next button, and also click on this agreement button. Then here you can install, just for yourself or for all users. So the recommended one is just me. That means just for yourself. I'm going to click next. And here, that is the path or the location where this Anaconda will be installed. So you can leave the default location. And then click on the next button. Register Anaconda as default. You can select that. You can select register Anaconda as my default. Add Anaconda 3 to my path environment variable is not really recommended. It says this can lead to conflict with other applications. Instead, use the command prompt and PowerShell menu to add to the Windows start menu. So when we install Anaconda, you can always start Jupyter Notebook using the command prompt, the Anaconda prompt, right? So you don't necessarily need to add this to the path environment variable. So let's continue to install. Now you can click on this install button to install Anaconda. All right, so now you can click on the next button and next and finish. Now that Anaconda is installed, you can launch an application like Jupyter Notebook from Anaconda using the Anaconda prompt. We can go to this search box and type Anaconda prompt. And here is the Anaconda prompt. Double click on that to open it. So there are a couple of ways to launch Jupyter Notebook. You can do that through the Anaconda prompt, or you can also do that through the Jupyter Notebook as well. I'm going to show you how to do that. So here is the Anaconda prompt, and you can just type Jupyter Notebook. And hit enter, and it will automatically open up Jupyter Notebook on your browser locally. So here is the localhost URL on your browser that allows you to access Jupyter Notebook in Anaconda. So here is how the dashboard for the Jupyter Notebook looks like, and we will talk about this later. But if you want to create a notebook, you can actually just initialize a Jupyter Notebook through this Python 3 kernel. For example, if you click on that, then a Jupyter Notebook will open up where you can start writing your Python code. So this is your Jupyter Notebook, and we can print hello world. All right, you've written your first Python program. We will talk about Jupyter Notebook very soon, how to use this interface. Like, you can name this Alright, you've written your first Python program, which is Hello World. So that's how to install Anaconda and launch Jupyter Notebook from Anaconda using the Anaconda prompt. Another way you can also launch the Jupyter Notebook is using Anaconda Navigator. So if I click on the search, box again in Windows, you can search Anaconda Navigator. And if you click on that, then it will open this Anaconda Navigator. It allows you to access the tools that come with Anaconda. So if you scroll down, you will see Jupyter lab is here. Okay, so if you scroll down, you will see that Jupyter Notebook is here, and if you click launch, it will also launch Jupyter Notebook through your browser, and you'll be able to access that through your browser as we have seen. So here you can see that we have the Jupyter Notebook dashboard being open through that local host. And to create a notebook, click on new, then Python 3 PyKernel, and it will create a notebook for you. Okay, so that's how to install Anaconda on a Windows machine and launch Jupyter Notebook, where you can now create a notebook or create notebooks and write Python code for data science. Jupyter Notebook is really used a lot for data science. We've seen how to install Anaconda on a Windows machine. Now let's take a look at how to install Anaconda
on a Mac or Linux machine. Let's dive right in.
Now here is the official Anaconda website, which is www.anaconda.com. And when you are on that website, you can click on this free download and this page will open. Then click the skip registration here, and another page will open where you can now download the installer, the Anaconda installer. I will show you how to download and install Anaconda on Mac. So here you need to click on this Mac drop down, and you will see that there are several options for installing Anaconda. You can install Anaconda using a graphical installer or a command line installer. And for each of these, you also need to choose the installer that matches with the Mac machine's processor. So we have the Apple Silicon and we have the Intel chip, which basically are installers that match with Mac's Apple Silicon or Mac's Intel chip processor. So let's start with the graphical installer. The graphical installer allows you to install Anaconda without the need for writing any commands on the command line. So basically you click your way through the installation. So let's click on that. I'm having an Apple Silicon processor on my Mac, so I will go with the first installer there, which is the Apple Silicon graphical installer. So it's downloading right there. Just wait for it to download. When it's done downloading, then we will go to our download folder and double click it to install it. Okay, so it has finished downloading. You can click on this download here and you will be able to double click that in order to install it. So I'm going to allow, and here you can click continue, then read through this and continue, accept the license. You can read through that as well, then you accept the license, continue. So I'm going to click this agree button, and you can install that on a specific disk or for all users. So I'm just going to take that default, which is installed for all users of this computer, and click the install to install. So here I'm going to enter my password to allow Anaconda to be installed on my machine. Okay, so the next thing is that you can continue. And you can see that the installation is successful. So close. You can decide to move that to the trash, but I'm going to test if the installation is really successful using the command line. So I'm going to click on command spacebar to open the spotlight search, and I'm going to type terminal to open the terminal. Let me clear that, and command plus to increase the size of the terminal. And here we can write the Conda command, Conda version, to see that it is installed. So here you can see Conda 24.9.2. That further confirms or validates that our installation is successful. Right? So now let's go back and see Now let's see how to install Anaconda using the command line. Right, again, you should be installing the one that matches with your Mac's processor, whether the Apple Silicon installer or the Intel chip installer. And again, I'll be using the Apple Silicon command line installer, so download that and wait for it to download. It takes a little bit of time for the download to be complete, and now that the download process is complete, we can go to the terminal. So here you can check where you are in the terminal with pwd, and I will navigate to the downloads. And also you can list the files that are there. You can see that you have the Anaconda file there ending with sh, which shows that it's a shell script. So we need to run this file. We can use bash to run that file. So bash Anaconda, you can type the tab to auto-complete that and hit run. When you hit the run button, you basically follow the rest of the instructions to install. So here it's telling us that we need to press enter to continue. So we will just keep hitting enter until the process, until we get into the next phase of the process. In this next phase, you need to accept the license terms. So you can enter yes. And here it says Anaconda will now be installed into this location, which is like your home user / Anaconda. So all we need to do is to press enter to confirm the location, or you could also specify a different location. So I'm going to hit enter to confirm that location. So in this phase, it's asking, do you wish to update your shell profile to automatically initialize Conda? You can go ahead and say yes. And what is going to happen is that some commands are going to be added to your profile, so that each time you open this terminal, then Conda is automatically initialized. Now Anaconda has been successfully installed, and we can close this. There is the instructions here says that for changes to take effect, close and reopen your current shell. So you can close this terminal and reopen it. And we can also check to make sure that we have Anaconda or Conda initialized inside our profile. So you can use Nano to open that. And in Mac, this would be under the Z shell RC, and you can see these first lines, which are actually comments showing that the subsequent commands involve the initialization of Conda. So if you see this part, it means that each time you open the terminal, you can actually write conda commands, and you can activate the environment and so on. So that also indicates that the installation was successful. I'm going to close this. And so here the last thing is to install Anaconda on a Linux machine, right? So now to install Anaconda on a Linux machine, you can click on the Linux drop down here, and you can also choose the installer that matches with the processor on your Linux machine. So here I'm basically the 64-bit installer generally is the one you want to use, unless your Linux machine is having the AWS Graviton 2 processor or this other processor. So just choose the one that matches with the processor of your Linux machine, and the process is going to be the same as that for Mac. So when you install it, when you download any of these, you can just open the terminal, go to the location, like to your download folder where the installer file is located, and just run the bash and then name of that installer, just like we did for the Mac. So that's how to install Anaconda on a Windows machine. We've seen how to install Anaconda on a Mac machine, and also you can install it on a Linux machine using the command line, just like we did for the Mac machine. So I hope this was useful information, and it's very important to understand how to set up your environment, how to install software, because that is really where it starts. If we don't have the installation on your machine, then we cannot even proceed to use the software. So I hope you found this useful. Now we've seen how to install Anaconda on a Windows machine through the installer by following these instructions, and we've also seen how to install Anaconda on a Mac machine using the graphical installer, as well as using the command line installer. And now we want to look at, we also talk about how the installation of Anaconda on a Linux machine is very similar to that of installing Anaconda on a Mac using the command line installer. So basically you download the installer and use the bash command to install it. And at this point we want to take a look at how do you launch a notebook, a Jupyter Notebook. So we will look at how to launch a Jupyter Notebook. The first option is to launch it through the Anaconda Navigator, and you can first open the Anaconda Navigator through the search tool in Mac or Windows. So if you go to the search box in Windows and search for and just type Anaconda Navigator, that will pop up and you will click on that and it will open the navigator for you. But I'm going to show you how that works on a Mac machine. So command find to go to the spotlight search, and we can search for the Anaconda Navigator and just hit the return or enter key. So here is the Anaconda Navigator, and the Anaconda Navigator is basically an interface that allows you to use the different tools that Anaconda comes with. So like we said, Anaconda is a software that comes with many tools. You can see it comes with PyCharm, which is an IDE or integrated development environment, and many other tools. And you can see Jupyter Lab is like the cousin of Jupyter Notebook and we see Jupyter Notebook right here, And if you scroll down a little bit, you also see like VS Code, Spider, which is also an integrated development environment for writing and executing Python programs. Let's look at how to launch Jupyter Notebook. You can just click on the launch button and Jupyter Notebook would be launched for you on the browser. So it's kind of opens the Jupyter Notebook dashboard on a browser locally, and you can navigate into a specific folder where you want to create your files, for example desktop, but here I'm just going to show you how to create a Jupyter Notebook that will go to this default directory. So click on this Python 3 kernel, click on the new and Python 3 kernel to open a Jupyter Notebook where you can write Python code. So this is the Jupyter Notebook. Here you can write a title, maybe lesson 1, and rename that. And you have the cells. When you click into this cell, you can write your first Python program. Hello, click on this run button to run that, and here you will notice that you have hello right there. So that's how you can launch the Jupyter Notebook and use it to write code. And here you can add more cells, you can cut out cells, and you can hit this button to run. We will talk more about using the Jupyter Notebook later, but I just wanted to show you how to launch that through the Anaconda navigator. The second way to launch this really quick could also just be through the terminal, right? If we go to the terminal again, let's open a new terminal. You can also type Anaconda -navigator and hit enter or return, and it will also launch Anaconda Navigator. So it's telling us that an instance of Anaconda Navigator is already running. So if we close that, then we will be able to launch that. So let me close that and run that again. You can see that a new instance of the Anaconda Navigator is opening. Alright, so that's how to launch it. And also note that you can launch, let me close this terminal and close the one for the Jupyter Notebook. I'm going to close this as well. So let's go back to the terminal. For example, we can also launch the Jupyter Notebook directly without going through the navigator by just typing Jupyter Notebook on the terminal. Hit enter, and that will also launch it on the browser locally. And from there, you can open files that you've been working on, or open maybe new files and start writing your Python code. So I hope this lesson was useful. You've seen how to launch Jupyter Notebook through the Anaconda navigator, and you've also seen how to launch it through the terminal. So thank you very much for watching the video. Like and subscribe. Share with friends so we can continue to learn together. This is going to be a very loaded course. So I look forward to seeing you in the next video.